Hey guys, what's up? Mike here. Thanks for tuning into another video. So I want to answer the question, what is a UX researcher? What is UX research? And what do they do? How do you do it? Okay, so a UX researcher is someone that works on the UX team. It's different. The UX researcher is different from a UX UI designer in the sense that a UX researcher is not designing any interfaces. Their primary job, their primary duties of a UX researcher is to go out there and gather information and data from the clients that you're targeting so that they can help the product team and yourself as designers build the right products. Okay, so for example, I'm a UX UI designer. I work with product. I work with product managers, right? And so they'll come to me and our team, we're going to be working on, they tell me, hey, we're going to be working on this new calendar app for the next 4 months. Okay, we've gathered some emails from our clients and we think they want these features. Okay, UX researcher would go out, if you're in the right process, they'll go out a little earlier than before you guys start working on this, and they'll gather some information, they'll summarize, they'll conduct interviews, they'll make phone calls, they'll have interviews with the clients on how they're using the systems. They'll go out to the client site to kind of watch them interact with the systems. They'll bring them in, they'll do some usability studies. There's so many different ways. There's no one particular way on how to go about gathering information from your clients and finding out how they're using your products. Whatever techniques and whatever processes it is out there, surveys, interviews, phone calls, on-site studies, going to lunch, just observing them, etc. They'll gather that information. So they'll come back to our product team and they'll say, hey, to be honest with you, we've gathered information, and 90% of your client base that we've studied, they're not using your calendar app anymore. They're actually using this new thing on the market called XYZ or whatever, right? So that gives the product team, ourselves, designers, developers, an understanding on, hey, maybe we shouldn't be designing this thing. We should be designing it this way. We should be working on this new feature, right? So a UX researcher job is so important. If a company has the resources to have eyeballs and people on the street, taking surveys, conducting usability studies, it's so important to a product development team. We work with UX researchers at ADP, and a lot of times the way we work is they'll gather information, and when they're doing usability studies, I'll be the observer. Okay, as a UI UX designer, I'm not a UX researcher, but I love observing, and it's important for product owners and developers and UX and UI folks to actually observe how UX researchers are conducting these studies, and just to sit back, don't say anything, and just document how users are using the systems. So I love this process. I love the process of just observing, because it really gives me a good insight into how people are using the systems. And we can go back to, after we conduct like a 30-minute to an hour usability study, is just going back to the drum board and go, whoa, these 10 people are not using our app the way we thought they were using it. And so it's a really good it's really helpful when you do have the resources to have a UX researcher have those duties on your team to go out there and gather that information. At the end of the day, no matter how they gather information, the UX researcher summarizes all their data, right? Whether they gather analytics, make phone calls, interview, usability study, they'll gather that, summarize it in a PDF or a nice PDF or a nice PowerPoint, and they'll present it to your team. They'll send you guys that information, so you have that while you're designing and building out your product. Someone asked me, Mike, how do you do UX research when you're just by yourself, and you don't have the resources that these UX researchers really do? That's simple. You keep it very simple. Okay, you can do UX research on your own. I call it best guess. Okay, everybody starts off with the best guess. So for example, let's say I'm working with somebody and we have a little startup, just two of us, and we're building an app that is similar to Uber. Okay, it's different than Uber, but it's very similar in that regards. Okay, so what we do, we can do UX research on our own. we know we can go out there and we can start using Uber on our own. We can start using, interacting with Uber. We can interview our friends on how they interact with Uber and things like that. So we can get a good understanding just based on competitive analysis on our competitors on how people are using Uber, and then we can build our product in a similar way. Okay, so that's, you know, down and dirty, simplified UX research, you know, right there. And then you keep it simple. Okay, MVP, minimal viable product. You start off with a very simplified version of your product. You get it out there, and it's just a cycle. It's a cycle of observing how people are using your product, monitoring how they're using your product, taking some surveys, and then you're gathering that feedback, and then you're taking that information, and then you're making adjustments, and you're evolving your product as you go. That's basically UX research in a nutshell. Hopefully this was helpful. If you want to learn more about my UX UI design process, check out my site, mllupcode.com, and we'll talk soon. Bye.